Hi everyone, welcome to the GM show. It is Judith again, and this episode we'll be talking about crushing badass goals. Like, we have to crush those goals this year. We're talking about practical ways we can employ to crush our goals that we'll be setting for the new year. Before we get right into the podcast, I would like to share a quote, or rather, two quotes, not just one, two. The first one is goals. There's no telling what you can do when you get inspired by them. There's no telling what you can do when you believe in them. And there's no telling what will happen when you act on them. This one is by Jim Rohn. Then the second one is by Zig Ziglar. It says, a goal properly set is halfway reached. Like you can see how important this is, setting goals. We want to know how to crush badass goals. Just stay with me all through this episode. This podcast is just to walk you through a few steps that can help you achieve that goal you've been aiming at for a while. Goal setting is extremely important, and at every point in our life it is essential that we have specific goals that we want to achieve, so we're not just passing time and letting things happen to us. We just have to be deliberate about the things that we do and how we do them. A goal is not just something we want to achieve. I don't know if you've heard about SMART goals, but then a goal must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be attainable, it must be relevant, and then it must be time bound. This is like the basis for goal setting. Goal setting is incredibly powerful, and its importance cannot be overemphasized. I also want you to know that in this coming year, any plan, like any plan at all, is better than not having a plan. I'll be talking about the various stages involved in goal setting. First step is know your goal. Have clarity about it. Fam, you just have to know what you want. You should be able to explain in clear terms what your goals are so you can achieve them. Like, how do you want to achieve something when you don't know what it is? So when it comes to goal setting, questions like what, why, and how needs to be answered so you're clear about what your goal is. For example, if you want to learn how to bake a cake, you need to be clear, okay, there are different types of cakes. What type of cake do I want to learn how to bake, and why do I want to learn how to bake this cake? Then how is it that I will go and learn with somebody, that I would go for a training or something? So you need to know why, what, and how. The next step is to take charge. Many of us want something, but we are not ready to pay the cost for what we want. Many of us want to, we want to live in that fine house. Are you willing to pay the price to live in that fine house? We just wish. I don't think anybody got to where they are by just wishing for something. So how do you plan to achieve this goal? You need to take charge. You need to step up. What do I mean by taking charge? You need to get rid of every excuse that's holding you back. You know, they say the only person stopping you is that person in the mirror. Sometimes you just want to do something and you just give yourself 100 excuses not to. I deal with it sometimes. You come up with things like, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, maybe it's not the right time. It is never the right time. It is never the right time. You just have to get rid of that excuse. Research has shown that 80% of the limitations that a person faces are all self-made. Just 20% is due to external factors. This means that if you're not where you want to be, if you're not living that dream life, then it is 80% your fault. 20% maybe because of other conditions that are out of your control, but 80% is within your control, and I feel that 80% is a lot. Why don't you make do with that 80%? It's high time you stop blaming people for your predicaments. Start taking responsibilities. Just if you make the decision today to start taking responsibilities for your actions, it will take you a long way. So just start taking responsibilities. Do not let situations or people determine the happenings in your life. You're 80% responsible. Remember that. You need to practice a no limit thinking. Do not that thing of, when people say you self-sabotage or you shoot yourself in the leg, we all do with it, but from this moment on you need to practice. It is a skill set. You need to constantly tell yourself that, okay, I'm not going to limit myself. There's no limit to what I can do or who I can be. So practice is no limit thinking. See your life as one without limitations. That way you will dare yourself to do more. We'll be moving to the third step now, which is you taking action. This is where the real work comes in. What you need to do now is think ink. Yes, ink, INK, ink. You need to sit down, pick up a piece of paper and a pen, and then write those goals down. Let them stare you in the face. Don't just leave them in your mind. If they're still in your mind, then it's just a wish and a dream, and it's not just something you want to achieve. When it is a goal, it is written down. You see it every day. Write out the goals you want to achieve. Each one has to have a deadline. Remember, if your goal is not time bound, then it is just a wish. More people are scared of deadlines because most people are scared of deadlines because they feel they cannot measure up and they cannot meet up. But that's fine. If you set a deadline and you do not meet it, set another deadline, work towards it. If you still need to extend that other deadline you've set, extend it. But the most important thing is that you have to keep working towards your goals. Do not be scared to make your goal time bound. It might take a little longer than the time you've set, but the most important thing is that you achieve it. After writing down your goals, it doesn't stop there. You need to do your research, find out every single thing you need to do to achieve this goal. Search and write it down. With the findings of your research, come up with a plan. You must have a plan, fam. You must have a plan. Then split your deadline into smaller bits. Every day you need to do something towards this goal. You need to, if it's just as simple as maybe reading an article on the subject or something, you just need to do something towards this goal. If for example by the end of the year you want to read 20 books, the excuse you come up with in your mind is I don't have time. Why don't you sit down and make a list of the books you want to read and then dedicate 15 minutes every day? By the end of the year you'll be surprised at how many books you would have read. That's why I say you need to have a plan. The plan is the 15 minutes every day you've decided to read. This is you breaking your 1 year plan of reading 20 books into 15 minutes per day, and every day you're taking actions, you're taking steps towards this goal. At this point, I also want to mention something I have just learned on using a vision board. I know everybody has heard vision board, hey, this, that, 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 but I never really considered it important until I went for a seminar in church where we were taught on vision board, and then a mentor also put me through the whole process, and it is incredibly powerful, guys. Vision board is you just writing down those goals and then printing out pictures that symbolize those goals, then you paste them where you can see them literally. But I did this vision board thing, let's say, was it not last week? No, not last week, the week before that. I wrote down some specific things that I want to work on for 2020. You will not believe it that the next week after that, one of it started happening. I am serious. One of it started happening. I'm a person of faith, and my Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. You have to run with that vision you make plain. I printed out like my vision board and everything, and I was looking at it every day. It was a constant reminder and all that. Even what happened from what was on my vision board is even something that is totally out of my control. So it is incredibly powerful, guys. A lot can happen from just doing that. So I want you to keep it in mind, write down those goals, get a pictorial representation of the goals, and then paste them somewhere where you can see them. That way it would help you do a lot with the next step I'll be talking about. This next step I want to talk about is think goal. When you've done your vision board and everything, it helps you put your goal at the back of your mind like every single time. And the thing is, when this happens, it exposes you to a lot of opportunities. When your goals are like always on your mind, you do not let things slip through your hands. You everything you see, every opportunity that comes your way, always awakens this thought in you that, oh wow, this is something I want to do, something I really want to be involved in. For example, if your goal is to be the best hairstylist in Africa by the end of 2020, you constantly think about it. When next you see something like, let's say, a hairstyling competition or a training or something, you're geared towards it, because that you do not just is that poster is not just an ordinary poster to you anymore, because there is a goal that you've written down and you're working towards. So when you're thinking about this goal, opportunities like that always ring a bell to you. This step is incredibly important. You have to think about your goal. Let your goal always be on your mind. We've finally come to the end of this episode, but I want to talk about something just before we go. You need to dare yourself to dream big. I have mentioned this before, but while you're daring yourself to dream big, make sure that your goals are realistic. Remember, we talked about SMART goals. Your goals have to be realistic and attainable. You cannot just wake up today in Nigeria and say you want to be the president of the United States by next year, 2020. Yeah, well, it's not possible, because that goal is not, it has not gone through the SMART process. It's not really specific, not measurable, it's not attainable, it's not realistic, and then your timing is just wrong. So I want you to think about that. You need to put a lot of things into perspective. Where am I now, and how long would it take for me to get to where I want to be, and what plans am I making towards getting there? Goals are meant to motivate you and not to frustrate you. If you set ridiculous goals, you would end up being frustrated, fam. You would end up being frustrated. It is possible to be the president of the United States. Yes, it's possible for a black man to be president, but not at that timing you've given it. Not every, I mean, your whole plan, your whole goal setting for that, like being president next year, is just wrong. So I want you to make sure your goals go through the SMART process before you actually carry them out, so you're not disappointed. I would like to go through the 4 steps again. You need to know your goal. You need to take charge of your life. Get rid of excuses. And then you need to start thinking about your goals. Overall, do not forget to pray about what you want to achieve, because God is a loving Father, and you have no idea how much a spiritual backing would do for you. But first, you have to do your due diligence. And then get God involved in all your process, and let Him walk you through it. You will be so glad that you did. With this, I think you're ready to crush badass goals. You are. I know. I am ready to. To end this session, we'll be taking the Did You Know segment. Did you know that the wheelbarrow that the wheelbarrow was invented in China? Now you do. Till next time, fam.